Okay, hello. Thank you guys for joining me today. Today I'll be discussing Care Health. My name is Carly Philemont, and this was designated by Dr. Williams and Mercer University. Care Health. So here's some of the background. The Altram Institute, which is a joint partnership with the United Physicians and Detroit Medical Center Physicians Hospital Organization, was granted an award to discover a way to reduce unnecessary imaging for the beneficiaries in southeastern Michigan. The specifics of the objective is to reduce the CT and MRI volume. This will in return reduce the amount spent for those images, devices, and tools, by also making sure that all the facilities are still achieving patient satisfaction. They also want to ensure that more jobs are being created while restructuring the system. So the purpose I have listed here is the functional requirements of the system is to reduce the volume of CT and MRI scans, which reduce costs, place orders specifically imaging orders within the system, stay in compliance with all the healthcare guidelines, maintaining the clinical decision support aspect to support physicians in the best way possible. And the technology will also be able to make laboratory and imaging orders and keep track of any duplicate orders that have been made. The non-functional requirements provides the ability for the systems to work in coordination with the computer systems and can also be used by any EHR software system. It is preferred that the system is used through the EHR system to track the amount of imaging orders sent and received. This system can also be used by any physician order. So some of the risks, there are a few risks that this project could face. The risk that the EHR could face is the interface goes down. So what that means is basically if you're in the midst of transferring information back and forth to facilities, that information could come to a complete stop. There's numerous reasons as to why the interface goes down, but when the interface goes down, just know that all communications between systems will be stopped. When the interface, communication between systems. Therefore, we will be able to check for, we won't be able to check for insurance or referrals. This will work against the team in progressing because the requirements to get the claim or imaging paid will then be affected. Another risk is the system is hacked by hackers. This is a risk because patient information could be stolen or tampered with. Information that shouldn't be out there in the atmosphere will then be out there, like if a patient is being seen for breast cancer and her family doesn't know yet, that information has a possibility of being leaked. So to mitigate the risk, the process of handling all potential risk is so it doesn't affect the project or doesn't overpower the project. It is necessary to change all workflows that increase the risk. Training your staff to recognize hackers and their common tactics such as phishing and helping would help mitigate the risk. If the interface goes down, there needs to be a team within the organization of the EHR or the system that is going to mitigate the risk, mitigate that from happening. In my past experience, there was a whole interface department that paid very close attention to that and monitored that as well. Some of the constraints, there are hardware and software environment. The system should be able to provide support and configuration that will support the organization's need. Interoperability requirements, the system should be able to communicate to numerous systems and not just one or one in the organization. So you want to make sure that the transparency between the systems are actually being are actually happening. Interface and protocol requirements. The system should be designed to have an XML or IE functionality in order to provide enough support. So basically, we want to make sure that the systems are all formatted and coded correctly, there won't be any issues with communication within the systems. Security requirements. The protection of the system needs to be a high priority because there is many attempts of hackers. Security requirements, honestly, probably is the biggest constraint that needs to be acknowledged, because there are people trying to hack systems every day, and that also needs to be handled. So some of the features that Care Health is going to offer are alerts. Alerts is going to be a big thing for the new Care Health system. So some of the alerts that it'll get is order has already been submitted, new images that enter the patient's chart. So any images that they got from their cardiologist, their PCP will then get alerted that there's new images in the patient's chart. And you want to, they'll get an alert for duplicating images or orders. So let's say cardiology makes an order for an image. If it's within a certain time period, so let's say it's been maybe 2 weeks since it was submitted, then if the PCP, tries to order another one, I'll get an alert saying, hey, this patient recently had an imaging MRI test done with their cardiologist. It should be in the imaging section. If not, please reach out to that cardiologist for the images. So, or have that patient bring them on a disc so we can upload it to the chart. Either way, it'll notify them that this image was just recently taken for this patient. The next thing, that it'll interface with other facilities. That's a big deal. In order for us to know that the cardiology department placed that order, we will have to know that, that it was actually even submitted by cardiology. So we would know that by our systems reading out each other, communicating with each other, and understanding that. Providing suggestions is also something that the Care Health will offer. We would use techniques like SNOMED in order to have certain images be suggested for doctors. So if there is a pain in the patient's pelvic and I am entering that into the patient's chart, there is going to be something to alert me like, hey, maybe this patient should go for a MRI image. Next, we have task. Task management system appears to be essential to employee success and determines how well managers control tasks, performance, and lead collaborative efforts of their subordinates. In every organization, employees need to plan and manage various tasks to carry out their duties and responsibilities. Some of the tasks that I have listed here is managing resources, using collaborative calendars, setting reoccurrence patterns, visualizing task data and charts, pre-test, testing, and reporting. So all of this is very important to communicate, be organized, and actually implement the system. You want to make sure that you have all your resources together prior to launching that system. You want to make sure that there is a collaborative calendar so everyone knows when it's being implemented, when it's going live, when, just something to follow guidelines with. Setting recurrent patterns, visualizing test data and charts. That is going to, kind of monitor the project and the system as to what it should be performing and what it's not. Pre-testing would basically be before it is going live or before it's presented to the stakeholders. The developer should first pre-test it, then make some changes, and then provide it to the stakeholders. And then, of course, you're going to go through your final testing that we'll discuss a little bit more later on in the presentation. And then you have your reporting, just reporting on the status of it, the production of it, the progression of the system, just all of that good stuff. So next we have test. System and integration testing is one that we will use towards this project. The next is beta testing. So first I'll go into system and integration testing. The integration testing part of the testing methodology is the testing of the different modules components that have been successfully unit tested when integrated together or perform specific tasks and activities. The participants that would usually do this is the developer. Our developer, Nicole Richard, will be handling this test. This test is usually done with a combination of automated functional test and manual test, depending on how easy it is to create an automated test for a specific integrated component. Automated test scripts are a valuable way to perform regression testing on an application to ensure that new features or bug fixes don't break existing functionalities. Next is going to be beta testing. Beta testing is the second phase of software testing in which a sample of the intended audience tries the product out. The participants would be end users and staff members. In this phase of the software development, applications are subject to real-world testing by the intended audience for the software. The experience of the early users are forwarded back to the developers who will make final changes before releasing the software commercially. So beta testing, I think, is probably the one of the most important. I think unit testing, system and integration testing, and beta testing are going to be the three most important testings that a system is going to go through. Unit and system testing is kind of obvious as to why it is important. It's testing it at its smallest component, comparing it to its largest component. So that is obviously important. But the beta testing, I think, is really important because you kind of get to see the kinks and work it all out before having to actually put this product out there and having to have to fix a trillion bugs and fixes as opposed to just, fixing 10 from a focus group that was set up by the developers, like the end users, the SMEs, the subject matter experts would go in on the system, play with it, use it, try to attempt to break it. As crazy as it sounds, you want to be prepared for the worst. So you wanted them to try to go in and mess with it as much as possible, so we can try to get some feedback, see if what needs to be worked out and what doesn't, and make those minor changes before actually developing it out to everyone in the organization. So this is going to be my references. If you need anything to refer back to, learn a little bit more information, this is going to be where you could refer to get that. So I think that's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this is something that meets your desirable pleasures, and I'll be happy to make any changes for you if you need be, and you're more than welcome to contact me. Thank you guys for listening.